Peter King, kind enough to join us. TheMMQB.com. It's mandatory reading every Monday for you football fans. In fact, the entire week leading up to the games as well. Pete, let me start with Jim Irsay tweeting at around 3:30 this morning. I got some tweets. I don't know if any of them were directed at me, but I get the feeling the Colts were upset with us, NBC, that we blew this out of proportion among the other media groups. Did we?
Personally, I don't think so. I think that what happened last week, and I do think that people in that organization believe that America blew this out of proportion, and that he has said similar things to the Associated Press in Indianapolis, to Bob Kravitz, to some of their beat people. So I think they felt like we all, and not just NBC, made more of this than there really was.
Watching the game, though, I thought it lived up to the hype. I thought it was – I wasn't sure exactly what to expect there, how Peyton would react. He was truly moved there in the beginning.
Yeah.
Took a little while for the game to, kind of find the level it's going to be played at. But your takeaway from both teams last night was what?
I talked to Vontae Davis after the game, and I asked him, I said, it looked like there's a little bit of a blueprint, especially with some weaknesses at both tackles, because, look, Chris Clark, has been a good replacement at left tackle for Ryan Clady until last night, and Robert Mathis owned him last night. And that you just, you can't have. You just can't have. You can't have as leaky a line as they had last night. So that would be bothersome. But the other thing, and I think the game plan, because talking to Davis, the game plan was just to be very physical with their receivers. And that's what they were. And it's funny. It's almost like they felt like a couple of pass interference penalties would have just been the cost of doing business. And I think they might have gotten away with one or two, but, they played a physical game. A lot of cornerbacks do today in football. He handled Demaryius Thomas. NBC had a great graphic last night, late in the game, that Vontae Davis had allowed 2 receptions for 4 yards, and he'd been thrown at 8 times. And so this was a fantastic job by the Indianapolis defense, and in many ways, Dan, that's exactly what Andrew Luck wants. Andrew Luck does not want, first of all, he doesn't want any attention. He knows that's unrealistic, but he really wants the attention to be spread among the people who deserve it. And last night, their defense, even though they gave up 33 points, really deserved a lot.
You look at this situation with him, and as Tony Dungy said, he talked to Reggie Wayne, and Reggie said this kid is just so clueless with what's going on. He just wants to play football. And Reggie Wayne told Tony Dungy, he doesn't know it's a 3-ring circus. He doesn't even know the circus is in town. He can't even see the tent being put up here.
Yeah.
To be oblivious to that, to just go out and play, I marvel at that. I do think you have to watch him play an entire game to understand how he manages a game. I don't think he's going to have the highlights that the other younger quarterbacks, but I think he and Russell Wilson are very, very special at managing a game.
Yeah, I do too. And I think one thing last night, I talked to Kobe Fleener actually early this morning about what he saw in Luck, and he goes, nothing different at all. Not all week. Never any talk about this. Boy, this is huge. Nothing. And I think that's what makes Luck good. As Fleener said to me, he said, what Andrew Luck loves about football is that it's a meritocracy. You get what you deserve. There's no, and I'm paraphrasing now. There's no big titles. There's no entitlement or anything like that. And to me, that's what I really like about Andrew Luck. All he wants to do is play football and to be judged for football. Commercials, swell. He has no interest in them. He's not a money guy and all that. But that's what I think is going to make him good in the long run, Dan, is that all the other stuff he really doesn't care about.
Are they a Super Bowl contender?
No question about it. Think about it. They've beaten Denver, San Francisco, and Seattle by an average of 10.7 points a game. And you look at the way they play, and if they can get a pass rush, and if their corners, I mean, they lost a couple of defensive backs last night. If their corners can stay healthy, they can beat any team in the league. That's why this league is shaping up to be really fun this year, because there doesn't appear to be, I mean, I think we all thought that Denver was the closest thing to a super team, but their defense was a little leaky. I mean, Von Miller was just totally was not there last night. I mean, I think he made one or two plays, but I mean, Robert Mathis, compared to Von Miller, just owned that game. So I think Denver needs some help on defense.
He's Peter King from Sports Illustrated, also the MMQB.com, joining us, New York City Man Cave. Let's go through the injuries here.
Yeah.
Brian Cushing done for the year with a broken leg. Is that right?
I don't know that. I know that I just was told last night it's serious. Teams don't usually talk like that privately unless it's serious.
Okay. Jay Cutler, groin injury.
MRI today, but I think everybody would look at that and say he's going to miss some time. He couldn't even support himself walking off the field last night.
Sam Bradford.
He tore his ACL. He's out for the year, obviously, and they're going to have a little bit of a gong show at the Rams at Rams Park today to try to pick a quarterback. And yes, it's true, as Mike Silver said, they talked about Tim Tebow. I'm told it's highly, highly unlikely that they'd sign him, but who knows? They may bring him in along with the Skeltons of the world to let the best man win the gong show.
So is it Kellen Clemens?
Kellen Clemens. Dan, you know what? I really feel for the St. Louis Rams in this way. Not just because they lose their starting quarterback, but how about the timing of it? Game 5 of the World Series, if it's played, if there's a 5th game of the World Series, will be at Busch Stadium next Monday at 7:07 p.m. Central Time. At 7:40 p.m. Central Time, the Seahawks will play at the Rams. Now, first of all, you have to understand in St. Louis, these stadiums are 9/10 of a mile apart. It's a 12, 15-minute walk from one stadium to another. And I would guarantee you that there will be, with Kellen Clemens at quarterback and the Rams fans thinking, hey, just another year is same stuff, different year. It's not going to be a good day for football in St. Louis, I don't think. It's just going to – the referendum is going to be on, and it's going to show that baseball owns that town.
Arian Foster re-injured the hamstring.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a Vic thing probably. We'll see how serious it is, but he'll probably miss a little bit of time.
Patriots yesterday, controversial finish. Can you clear up the rule that felt like it was a little heavy-handed against the Patriots post-game?
Before this season, every year the competition committee meets with some players in the offseason and elicits some ideas from players about how to improve the game and make it safer. And a couple of players, centers, I'm told, said to the competition committee and met with them and basically said, we don't like it on field goals and extra points when, and punts, really. When there is somebody right over us and as soon as we snap it, they cave us in, you hurt your back, you hurt your neck, it's not fair. So what the NFL did is they said two things. Number one, you can't line up right over the center. And number two, you can't push anybody into the line to sort of generate more pressure against the punter or the kicker. And so this was the first time, this is a new rule this year about the pushing, and this is the first time it had been called. It was the absolute correct application of the rule, and anything else is sour grapes. Now, I do understand, Tom Curran wrote this up in New England, that the NFL has spoken about the, quote, second level, end quote, and that's what Bill Belichick talked about at his press conference, that this was not pushing from the second level, which would imply that you'd get a lot more pressure if somebody ran up and jammed somebody into the line. But in the rule book, which we have sitting on our desk at football night watching the games, there's no mention whatsoever in that rule about the second level. It just says if there's a push by any guy on the defense at the offense, it's a penalty. It's a clear penalty. The Patriots have no room to squawk.
It's also one of those games with Brady that you, even with Gronk back, and he had a great game with 8 catches, Brady missed a lot of open guys.
He missed some guys yesterday, no question about it. He threw the pick 6. It was not a great day for him. It was one of those things that, Dan, in 2 games this year, what's so uncharacteristic about this from the Patriots' standpoint is that they are 5 of 30 in third down conversions.
They were 1 of 12 yesterday.
1 of 12 yesterday. I mean, they really were confounded this year and have been confounded, and they have to find a way to block Muhammad Wilkerson. They've got a bunch of guys on that Jets defensive front, Sheldon Richardson, Damon Harrison, who are really playing well. And that is what the Patriots are going to have to solve. And I'll say this, it sounds bizarre because of all the other teams in the playoffs, but that is a bad matchup for the Patriots potentially in the playoffs. And I'm not saying the Jets are going to make the playoffs, but it's in any year in the NFL, you just never know. I'll tell you what would be a weird playoff match. What if Kansas City wins the division? And what if the Denver Broncos then are the 5th seed? There's only 3 teams that can be the 4th seed, the division champions of the other 3 divisions. So is that Cincinnati? That wouldn't be particularly compelling. Peyton Manning against Andy Dalton in Paul Brown Stadium. But what about Peyton Manning at Andrew Luck for the rematch? What about Peyton Manning at Tom Brady again for the 868th time? So these playoffs are going to be pretty fun. I think the wild card weekend could have a couple of fun games.
Before I let you go, I thought the Dallas win in Philadelphia was a pretty dominating performance there by their defense against a pretty good offense. Your thoughts on the Cowboys, not only yesterday, but maybe throughout this season?
I thought what was absolutely amazing about that game, and they deserve so much credit for it, Rod Marinelli and their defensive staff and Selvey and these guys who America really doesn't know. You're without DeMarcus Ware and Anthony Spencer. If you do bookend pass rushing for 200, Alex, I mean, there's a good chance that those 2 guys are going to be among the best 3, 4, 5 combinations, bookend combinations in football. They're both gone yesterday. Tough road game, and they got a lot of pressure on Nick Foles all day. And I think that really, much more than anything that happened on offense, and the continuing worry about Miles Austin being able to stay healthy, I just thought that was a great sign for the Cowboys. They're in the driver's seat. I don't see how anybody is beating them for the division.
Have you been to sleep yet?
No.
When
I go home now and I'll do it.
So you work all night?
Yeah.
To write the MMQB.
I must say, last night, I've got a little bit of a cold, and last night I sat in the chair while I was writing, and I just said, I have to close my eyes for a few minutes. And that was at about 10 minutes of 3. But then I didn't turn off the pinging phone. And, you get pings, and all of a sudden I just woke up, and I had, 15, 20 minutes. It was good. So I get a good nap in today.
I'll let you go to bed. Thanks for stopping by, Pete.
All right, Dan, thank you.
It's the MMQB.com. He's short on sleep, but long on information. The MMQB.com.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.